Hey guys, welcome back to another painting tutorial. Today I'm going to be painting the Chaos Space Marines Abaddon the Despoiler. And the first color I'm going to be using is Uniform Gray. And we're going to be working up the white with it. So I'm just hitting it from an angle. I'm wanting to make this model look like his sword's glowing on his one side of him. So I'm hitting him from the right side and just aiming down, just to build up that gradient. And we're just slowly, making it more opaque as we get towards the top of the model. So the next highlight we're going to be using is Ash Gray. And we're just working even further up. So we're just covering his head and his shoulder, the top of his back mount piece.
Many years ago, when I was a little girl, I found myself lost in the forest, alone.
And after that, I'm just going to be using a white. This is just surface primer. And I'm just creating that gradient just a little bit more higher up on the model. And I'll also be hitting the top of his sword there.
And down under the ground.
And catching the skulls and the top of his head. So now we can start adding color. Pre-washed a lot of things on this model, and the first color I used was blue tone from Army Painter. And I'm just washing all his armor pieces. So that's what he's looking like. So next I'm using red tone, and I'm using this on his capes. Just pre-shading all the pieces on this model. Also did his hair piece. So next I'm using purple tone, and I'm using this for all the bone and the bottom of his base, just to break it up a bit. And with the black and gray to white tones, it allows it to be, already have definition. Also used it on the cords and stuff he's got hanging off of him in the front. So that's what he's looking like so far. And then the last tone I'm going to be using, strong tone. And I'm just washing everything that I'm going to be painting gold. So the little spears on his back, the hilt on his sword, his chest piece. and all the trim on the armor, giving it that darker shade. The fur on his cape. And then dark tone, I'm just going to be darkening that blue. I'm not wanting to get rid of all of it, but just working from the inside, you know, darkening all the crevices. So we toned down the blue a little bit. So we'll let that dry. So the first color I'm basing is True Copper, and this is his trim color. And I've really thinned down the metallic, almost like a you know, a wash. So that's what he's looking like so far with the True Copper. Got the hilt on the sword, the spears on his mantelpiece, and all the trim, the bullets hanging out as bolters.
I felt a strange warm energy. Something was coming.
So I'm highlighting that with bright gold,
Guiding me deeper into the
and to go along with the direction of his sword that we're wanting to make glow. You know, I'm edging where the light would be coming from. So all the highlighted spots we're using the bright gold on. The corner of his pads, the top parts of his hilt, his chest piece, the top of the horn, the eyebrow on the skull, the tips of the spears. So that's what he's looking like. So next I'm using Shining Silver, and I'm using this for two things. I'm going to be basing all the metallic pieces, the chains, and then I'm also going to be using this to highlight the bright gold as well. Also going to be using the Shining Silver to dry brush his claw and his bolters.
But I can tell you for damn sure that the girl was nowhere to be found. We searched every inch of the forest and found nothing.
They were friendly creatures. Not at all evil. I followed them down underground. This is my house now. They were friendly creatures. Not at all evil.
And after the dry brush, you can really see it gleaming now.
I followed them down.
Also use it to highlight, you know, all the bright gold on the trim,
This is my
so you can see it on his knee in the corner of his pads.
They were friendly
Next color I'm using is Dragon Red, and I'm going to be dry brushing it on his cape and his hairpiece.
I followed them down underground. This is my home now. They were friendly creatures. Not at all evil. I followed them down underground.
And I think the red dry brush over the pre-shade with the red wash looks really good.
Friendly creatures.
Has a really good effect. So now I'm using a brighter red, pure red, and we're just doing the same thing, dry brushing. This time we're just focused more on the ends of the cape. Next I'm using tan flesh, and I'm just wanting to add some texture to it, or some battle damage, and I'm using a sponge, and I'm just streaking it onto the ends of the cape to make it look more rougher. And it gives it that tattered cape look. So I wasn't able to film this part, but what I did for the base and the skulls was well, for the ultramarine I used just deep blue. I just dry brushed it over top. But for the skulls I used necrotic flesh, and then Mummy Rose highlight, and I just dry brushed both of those on. So next I'm going to be doing some weathering using some oil paint, and I'm using this to tarnish the gold, all the trim work on them. And oils are really easy to use, especially if you're wanting to leave it just in the crevices. You know, you can go back with the Q-tip and just wipe away what you don't want, and you can use mineral spirits and it'll really loosen it up to where you can just wipe it off with the Q-tip. So we'll be getting rid of most of it, but leaving what's in the cracks. So here I'm just using some enamel, wintergreen, or winter streaking grime. It's more of a greenish grime. And same thing with the enamel paint. You can wipe away with mineral spirits. So we just dulled down the gold a little bit, and now we're just wiping away at our highlights. that's what he's looking like so far. So I'm going to be doing the same thing with yellow orange, except for I'm using this for all my iron pieces. So like the chain, and I'm doing it for this piece that I dry brush. The chain on his waist, and then just silver, the silver trim and stuff like that. And the bottoms of his claws. This will just add more color to our model as well. But we're wanting him to look good and weathered. Did it to his little vents on his back. And the same thing, you dabbed it Q-tip and a little bit of mineral spirits, and then you're able to wipe it away. Next I'm using Warlock Purple, and I'm just highlighting all those pipes and stuff that I purple washed. So that's what he's looking like so far. We got his tattered cape, his weathered armor. Next I'm using electric blue, and we're just highlighting the edges on his armor. That's what he's looking like so far. Next I'm using Fuel Stains by AK Interactive, and we're washing the whole base. And the Fuel Stains has a like a gloss finish on it, so it'll make the terrain look muddy, as well as like having that brown tinge on everything. So that's what it's looking like. I really like the way that works with the mummy robes and the necrotic flesh on the bones. Gives it that gross look. Next, I'm using the Fuel Stains again, but I'm using a stiffer brush to where I can flick, and it will sprinkle the Fuel Stain on his cape, and we're just weathering him into his terrain. And it has a cool effect because the enamel paint will dry like it sits on the model, and it gives it that that wet look, and I think it looks pretty cool with his weathered cape. So instead of using cotton, I'm using a sponge with mineral spirits on it, and I'm just wiping away at all the highlights on those bones just to bring that mummy robes dry brush back through, especially on the hand sticking out of the ground. All the pieces that I used to make the base was Mortarion's like pipes on his wings. You can see those two things in the front, and then I use the Age of Sigmar Night Haunt stuff. That's what the arms came from, and then the skull kit. That's everything else in there. besides what came with the model. Wasn't able to film this part, but all I did was white dot all his gems and his eyes, and then I just put that red wash over it, and then I went back and white dotted it. Here I'm just using Void Shield Blue, and I'm getting my glow ready on this sword. So I'm just hitting the bottom half, and I went back and white edged all the armor and the fur on his shoulder, and now I'm just barely misting that blue, just catching the edges on the right side of him to make that glow effect. We're not wanting to get opaque with this, we're just misting it so that we can have that OSL effect on our model. Next I'm using a Toxic Mist. This is a brighter blue, and we're just working our way up the sword. So we have it completely white at the top of the sword, and then we got that Toxic Mist with the Void Shield Blue. And we did the misting of the Void Shield to make that haze on all the right side of his body to make that glow. So I'm doing the little torch on his back, and I'm using Demonic Yellow, Lava Orange, and Black. We're using the Demonic Yellow first, and we're just hitting the front of that, and then we're using Lava Orange. You know, we're fading that in to the yellow, and then I'll use Black just to hit the tips. And after that, oh yeah, we just did Drakenhof Nightshade, and we just washed all those little faces on his sword and made that contrast a little better with his bright sword. So you can definitely see where I like misted it. I misted the Void Shield to make that glow effect, and I think I was pretty successful with that. But that's pretty much it. This model was pretty sick to paint, and I think I did a pretty good job on him. Thanks for watching, and I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you want to see more of our content, don't forget to subscribe. Also, feel free to check us out on Instagram or consider supporting us on Patreon. All of our links will be in the description below. It really means a lot. Thanks everybody for watching. Let us know what we should make next, and we'll see y'all next time.